Savage Streets is a 1984 vigilante action thriller film starring Linda Blair. I didn't know much about this except someone mentioned one of her lines from the movie, and it was such a great line I had to track the movie down. So this one is about Brenda. She is a tough, bad girl living in, I think, LA in the 80s. She's very protective of her sister who's deaf, and her friend Francine, who's going to get married. However, there's a vicious gang called the Scars, and one of their members goes to school with them, and they keep getting into interactions with them. Nothing happens in this movie. Like the inciting incident happens where the sister, I think her name's Heather, gets brutally gang assaulted by the gang, and then that's sort of like the inciting incident, like get revenge for something that happened to a loved one. But Brenda doesn't do anything for the first hour of this movie. Nothing happens. You just watch the criminals, do their thing. They walk around, beat up people. They do other bad things. They escalate things. They're like creeps. But Brenda doesn't do anything. She doesn't investigate anything. She doesn't talk to her sister who's in a coma, I guess, so she can't ask her. She doesn't do much. There's a subplot involving another jock that keeps hitting on Brenda. But this movie is just really boring. It's not even a cinematic atrocity level entertaining. It's just straight up boring. Nothing really happens. I browsed the Wikipedia page, and this movie basically shut down filming, and they couldn't resume until another producer stepped in with the rest of the money. So that would explain why the movie is really low budget in terms of action. Usually what happens in a vigilante action movie is that after the event that harms the friend or the family member, the protagonist, tracks them down, gets allies, gets weaponry. Brenda's very, reactive in this movie because she's a high school student. And so that's why the movie is very low budget. It looks low budget. It feels very 80s, but doesn't have much action. Her signature weapon is a crossbow. She doesn't get to have much else in terms of, anything else. A lot of the kills are off screen. So the movie's it doesn't feel low effort in terms of everything else though. They got a good soundtrack, good set design. You got John Vernon as the principal. Everything else is fine, but there should have been a scene where they brutalized the principal. Where's the action? Where's the escalation? The ending of the movie's only okay. It's really it's a really sleazy movie. There's a whole shower sequence, and then there's the scene where Brenda's in the bathtub by it's so random because it's just her having a cigarette in the bathtub with the 80s song blaring in the background. Almost a cinematic atrocity movie, this one, but it's too boring. It's just a really bad schlocky cult film. Some people love it. I thought Linda Blair's acting was terrible. This is an example of just a really bad film. It's very 80s though. If you're into those schlocky kind of bad films, then maybe, but Savage Streets is just kind of boring. Nothing really happens for a whole hour, and then she gets her revenge. So I give Savage Streets a 3 out of 10.